Hey everyone, happy Friday. It is Friday, March 24th. I love that song. I'm not even going to tell you who wrote that song. If you can guess, I'll be really impressed. Beautiful song. If you can play it, which I cannot quite really do, but that's okay. It's the heart that counts, right? Happy Friday. It is March 24th. I hope everybody's doing well out there in the world. We are studentloanjustice.org. I'm going to make it exceptionally quick tonight, guys. We have a weekend coming up, and I know that you all are probably getting ready to go have some fun. Unlike us here in the cold Northwoods of Wisconsin, got really nothing better to do here than just kind of sit around and fight for student loan justice. So, anyways, that is what it is. If you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook, please, by all means, throw out your questions or comments, and I'm very happy to respond to them in situ and read them on air and so forth. Two quick announcements. Number one, please donate for our van, guys. The SLJ van is toast. It threw a rod. It's a big, huge paperweight right now sitting outside. We've got to replace the SLJ van. This van is very critical for our operations, particularly coming up this summer, fall, and beyond. This is going to be a really tough year for us, guys, for many reasons. We're headed into a mixed Congress now, and we're going to have to dust off our vehicle, or I should say replace our vehicle, and go to places like Iowa and South Carolina and Georgia and Texas and Arizona and some other battleground states, maybe Michigan. It's going to be what it takes this year, guys. So, and if you're new to the group, you should know we're fighting for two things. Number one is the return of bankruptcy rights to student loans. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws. These have been unceremoniously and suspiciously and uniquely stripped from student loans. Getting this leverage back, not that anybody or many people, or really maybe even anyone, should have to actually ultimately file. We've got to get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side as it exists for all other loans, for all other debt, for every other borrower in the country. We're also fighting for the cancellation of all federally owned student loans. There's a story behind that, but suffice it to say, this group is a pretty big deal. If you're new to the group, you should know that we wouldn't even be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order right now here today, but for the petition that we started on this group. I'm very pleased to report that we're close to 1.2 million signatures on that petition now. Quite frankly, we should have tens of millions of signatures on that sucker. You can see it for yourself, change.org/cancel student loans. This is the thing that started the entire public conversation about canceling student loans by executive order. I kid you not. So to everybody out there who's been with our group for any length of time, and you have been doing the not hard work, but the effort necessary to grow that petition and all the other fun things that we do, I salute you. We've got a lot to be proud of here on this group right here. So please donate for this. Donate so that we can get our van replaced. The sooner, the better. I'm very pleased to say that we're almost 2/3 of the way there now. We've raised around $5,500 the last time I checked. We've still got about 2,500 more to go, and so it is just super important that we get this done. So please help. Second announcement: we are asking everybody, including and especially you, to please get a letter to the editor published in your local newspaper. We and I should say our members have gotten something like 18 or 19 of those published at this point across the country, but especially in states like Texas. So maybe if you live in Texas, you're off the hook because we've gotten so many published there, thanks to the whirlwind-like effort from Jackie Abron and her family down there. Jackie alone has gotten like 15 or something letters published in various newspapers across the state of Texas. We should get the same type of coverage for every state in the union, guys. We have a huge muscle to flex. We've got 1.4 million members in this group, although where they are tonight, I don't know. So potentially we have a huge muscle to flex. We're, I think, the largest group in the country at this point. Um, but that only matters when everybody actually does their part. And that's the most important thing I'll tell you tonight. That this is not a wait and watch and worry movement here. This is a real battle, and this is your battle. This is a working, fighting group. We are as grassroots gets. And if our people don't fight, then we will lose. And if there was another group actually fighting the student loan battle in a way that would actually lead to actual victory, I would join that group. But there's not, because it's us. So what you do matters, and what you do on this group matters all the more. You know, we're fighting this fight not only for ourselves, but for 43 million other federal student loan borrowers, another 10 or 12 or maybe 15, probably closer to 12 million private student loan borrowers. And remember, if the injustice that they have done with student loans, which starts by removing bankruptcy rights, if that can be done to other loans, and it can be if we allow this current student loan injustice to stand, that will happen. You know, I hear murmurs with increasing frequency about people wanting, bad people, our opposition and that whole crowd, wanting to take bankruptcy away from medical debt. And if they can, they will. If they can get away with it, they absolutely will. They will take bankruptcy away from, you name it, credit card debt, auto loans, small business loans. You know, they will strip bankruptcy rights and weaponize other lending systems in the same way they did to student loans if we allow that. So there's a lot riding on how successful this group is, guys, and that depends almost entirely on how hard you fight or don't fight. So yeah, write your letter to the editor. If you forget everything I say tonight, maybe I would also throw in, if you're looking for something to do, particularly if you are new to the group, you should really go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and check out our daily actions. And I can dial that in for you right now. Check out our daily actions. We do daily actions maybe 3 times a week. We update that website maybe every week or so. So every week or so, you should go to our website, and you should do the past week worth of our daily actions. Or you can just hang out with us on our Facebook group, and we announce those actions there more in a more timely fashion. So this week it could have been stronger for us. I will say one very bad thing that happened this week is that our opposition held a congressional hearing in the House Education and Workforce Committee, which is headed by one of the worst people in the world on this issue, and that is Virginia Fox. The whole point of this congressional hearing was to kill student loan cancellation. And it was a showcase for our opposition, some of the worst bad guys out there, people like Adam Looney, who's essentially a treasury plant tool who makes a living publishing very bad research based on very spotty data. And he uses that to claim that canceling student loans will benefit the wealthy, which is a complete and utter lie. Another guy, Mark Goldwine, with the Center for a Responsible Federal Budget, was one of the guys who testified at that hearing. And so the bad guys showed up, and they were doing what the bad guys do, which is mislead the public into thinking that student loan cancellation will cost the taxpayers huge, obscene, ridiculous amounts of money. And that's just false. Canceling all student loans, all federally owned student loans, I should say, which is most student loans anywhere, that can be done at essentially no cost. It would require no money to be drawn from the Treasury. It would add nothing to the national debt. And on balance, they could cancel every nickel of federally owned student loan debt, and the taxpayer would be breaking about even. You know, we're talking about, by and large, canceling profit here. And this is for a lending system that in 1965, when it was rolled out, President Johnson declared they would be free of interest. So, yeah, guys, we don't have to put up with this nonsense. But if we let our opposition win the day with hearings like what we saw yesterday, we will lose this battle, guys. And that's just a fact. So, and, you know, it wasn't so much that the bad guys were so bad, but also, I have to say, the good guys, i.e., the Democrats, and by the way, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. We pretty much can't stand either party. So, whatever your political stripes are, you're very welcome here on this group. But the Democrats didn't fight that hard at all, and they never do. And it really makes me sick. Because, like that thing that I just said about how canceling student loans won't actually cost the taxpayers anything, at no point in yesterday's hearing did the Democrats ever bother to mention what I just said. The student loan cancellation, unlike PPP loans and unlike other stimulus, requires not one thin dime to be drawn from the Treasury. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to raise taxes. You don't have to do any of that stuff. The loans can be canceled without one dime from the Treasury, without adding even one nickel to the national debt. You can't say that about PPP loans. You can't say that about pretty much almost any of the stimulus that we saw during COVID. You can't say that about the SVB, the Silicon Valley Bank bailout that we just saw last week. And how quickly did that happen? How quickly and quietly did the federal government rush to start writing checks from the Treasury Department to these wealthy account holders at SVB? Anyways, the hypocrisy just makes blood shoot out of my eyes. So I would ask, in addition to pitching in for the student loan justice van, you know, money is the least of our worries here on this group. The most of our worries is getting this problem solved. I would ask you to please find us on Twitter, Student Loan Just #1, and you will see the tweet from the Health and Education Committee that we responded to many times. I think we did like 19 or 20 different responses to that congressional hearing as it was displayed on Twitter by the Workforce Committee. Do everything you can to amplify our responses, retweet them, quote tweet them to politicians, particularly Republicans, if you would please. We've really got to reach out to the Republicans. We've got to hit the Republicans very hard this year because, as I said, we're firstly nonpartisan group. Whatever your political stripes may be are great. You're very welcome here. Historically, the Republicans have tended to oppose us. Now, we don't buy into any of the nonsense with both parties, guys. Both parties have screwed us blatantly. In fact, most recently, the Democrats absolutely put an ice pick in our eyeball when they consciously chose not to pass a very good bill, S-2598, that would have returned bankruptcy rates to student loans last session when they had all the power to do it. They squandered their control of Congress and the presidency, and they chose to fight for the colleges over us. And lo and behold, here we are still. I was hoping this group would be out of existence today, last year. I thought they would return bankruptcy rights. And that, frankly, that's probably all that needs to happen in order to actually solve this problem and to lead to very meaningful, widespread, maybe even total student loan cancellation. Like, that's how strong bankruptcy is, guys. But lo and behold, the Democrats screwed us. So we don't trust either party, ladies and gentlemen. And I know some of the other groups are just completely corrupted. And some activists I've seen lately on, I don't know, Twitter or Facebook or wherever, they're like, yeah, vote for Democrats. The Democrats want to help us. That's nonsense, guys. Nonsense. Neither party wants to help us. We are an issue without a true champion in Congress. That's just true. Both parties are against us in different ways. It's kind of like a good cop, bad cop thing where the Democrats like to appear to be fighting for us. But last congressional session proved they are not fighting for us. They're fighting for the colleges more than us. So whatever. We're so done. The Democrats don't have our back. Joe Biden does not have our back. That's a laugh. Joe Biden never wanted to cancel loans. Joe Biden, quite frankly, I think that the Biden loan cancellation thing that he announced, while we should be, we on this group should be taking great credit for that whole thing because, as I said, the whole loan cancellation by executive order thing started with this group. Joe Biden never wanted to cancel those loans. He only did it kicking and screaming. And quite frankly, I think they designed that $10,000 or $20,000 loan cancellation to fail. They based it on rather ill-fitting law, I would say, the HEROES Act. And they didn't need to do that. They didn't need to do any of that. They could have done what Donald Trump did. And we're no fans of Trump, by the way, but I have to say, Donald Trump is the first president to ever broadly cancel student loans by executive order. That's true. He did that in 2019 for disabled veterans. And at the time, they didn't point to the HEROES Act or anything. They just did it. And nobody sued. There was no brouhaha. There was no protest. And that's true. And that's pretty remarkable, I think. You should know that. The president can cancel loans, and there doesn't need to be a national emergency in place to cancel loans. The president can just cancel loans whenever he wants. And that authority goes right back to the Higher Education Act of 1965. Read it for yourself. So I see we have just a couple of comments here. I'm just going to rattle through them, and I'm probably going to
the Higher Education Act.
Call it a relatively early night here, guys. Hey, Joanna's here. Joanna is here with us from Florida tonight. Hey, Joanna. Thank you. Joanna says, I did the daily actions. Thank you, Joanna. I think Joanna does more daily actions than anybody on this group, except for maybe me. So thank you, Joanna, for doing that. Christina Wynn says, I am late joining the party. Here getting things done. Reddit sucks as a social media outlet. Got banned in only 3 days trying to help student loan borrowers. I'm glad you mentioned that, Christina. And I actually made a post about that earlier today because I saw some stuff going on the Facebook group. The Reddit student loan group is a complete corrupted racket. The Reddit student loans, like Reddit/student loans, that group is run by the student loan industry. I went on that group around 3 years ago, like around, I want to say summer 2020. We've been doing this battle for 15 or 18 years, guys. We do battle with student loan operatives, very smart people who really know their stuff all the time. And I'm here to tell you that Reddit is run by student loan operatives. And they don't actually want to help you. They want to steer you into consolidating your loans and into rehabilitating your loans, into maybe refinancing your student loans or doing other things that will make them money. That's their whole goal. They use that group to prey upon vulnerable, desperate student loan borrowers. And they're very good at what they do. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I was just at the Reddit group and they were so helpful and friendly. Yeah, that's how they run their con. They're not bad at what they do. They're not like, hey, give us all our money. No, they don't do that. They're like, oh, I think I can help. If you look at this and if you look at that, this is a really great idea for you and for anybody who da 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 da. No, it's not, guys. Like, let's look at loan rehabilitation, for example. Defaulted loans are a massive money maker for the industry, ladies and gentlemen. And the way they make huge amounts of money is through loan rehabilitation. This is where you take a defaulted loan, you pay on it for typically 10 months or so. None of that money goes to the principal. And at the end of the day, you sign for a brand new, shining, much larger new student loan. So if you defaulted at $50,000, chances are you're probably going to if you go through the loan rehabilitation process, you're probably going to wind up signing for a brand new shining loan for something like $100,000 or maybe even more. Well, the people who convince you to do this, they get a 16% commission off of your ass. They get a check written to them right then and there by the federal government, typically, for 16% of the book value of that loan. And in the example I just mentioned, that's a $16,000 payday for that one defaulted loan for those people. And the other shoe, what they never tell you is that these rehabilitated loans, they default again, something like 80% of the time. So rehabilitating your defaulted loans is a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. The odds are overwhelmingly that you're going to wind up defaulting again. So that $50,000 headache that you signed a new loan for $100,000, well, you're probably going to default again. And the balance at that time, who knows? It'll be maybe 120, and then the whole thing happens again. Pretty soon, you've got $250,000 in student loan debt hanging around your neck. That's how that works, guys. It's one of the dirtiest scams of all the student loan scams that are out there. And that's what you're going to find on the Reddit group. So, I went in there for like one night, and I posted some of my research. I think at the time I was posting the fact that most student loan borrowers had stopped paying, were paying nothing on their student loans, even before the pandemic. And I went around and around with those guys for a couple hours, and yeah, they kicked me out of the group, obviously. But even to this day, and by the way, at the time, there was a rule on the group against that was at the time they were banning all talk of canceling student loans by executive order on the group. So that kind of goes and shows you what is going on with those people. I'm telling you guys, the student loan issue is overrun with con artists, ladies and gentlemen. Like, look at Forbes magazine. A lot of people think those articles are friendly and helpful too. Well, the people that write those articles at Forbes, they make their living. Their day jobs are profiting off of defaulted typically, but all vulnerable and desperate student loan borrowers. They don't want to solve the student loan problem. If the student loan problem actually got solved, they'd be out of a job. So that's just kind of, in fact, that is absolutely way more the rule than the exception in the student loan universe. The bad guys are everywhere. And I could even point to people like Student Debt Crisis as a prime example of that. But anyways, I didn't plan on talking about that tonight, so I will digress. But I will demur from that. Suffice it to say, guys, if there were other trustworthy groups actually fighting for us out there, I would join that group. There's not. There's only us. And what we do matters. And trying to find the way to tiptoe through the minefield of student loans and relying on these predators that are everywhere, including on the Reddit board, to make that happen is exactly the wrong thing to do. You need to be here fighting with us. And it's just that true, guys. We wouldn't have been doing this for 18 fucking years now, pardon my French, if that were not true. So, okay, guys, I'm sorry if I can't get to all your comments tonight, but, I think I've gone already for like 25 minutes or so. So I will be back on Sunday, and I hope that you will, first of all, enjoy the weekend, obviously. I hope that you will get ready to fight and fight hard next week, because our opposition is not resting, guys. This battle is being fought in the trenches, whether you're fighting it or not. And if you're not helping us fight it, then we're probably losing it. And that's kind of the way that goes. But, on the other hand, it is so easy for us to win. So easy for us to win this battle. If even 10% of our members were even doing lame stuff or easy stuff like our daily actions, which usually take no more than about 30 seconds to do, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes at the most. If even 10% of our group were doing our daily actions, we would overwhelm every phone switchboard in Washington, D.C. We would overwhelm every Twitter account of the people who we target. And I think this problem would probably be solved in a matter of months, like single-digit months, not years, maybe even weeks. I mean, 1.4 million people blowing up phone banks in Washington, D.C., not literally, obviously. That would be something that nobody's ever seen before in Washington, D.C. You know, if we were an army, we'd be by far and away the largest standing army in the country, even with just our 1.4 million members. No, we would be bigger than the largest standing army in the world with just our 1.4 million members on this group. I kid you not. Now, collectively, student loan borrowers, or maybe I should even say collectively, only distressed federal student loan borrowers. So only the people who are losing sleep over their student loans. That's still around 45 million people, and that is way, way, way larger than all of the standing armies on Earth combined. It's like twice bigger. Can you imagine if we had actually had about 20 million people or 30 million people or 40, or we should be so lucky, 45 million people actually helping us in this fight? So yeah, guys, it's a very easy problem to solve, the student loan problem. Very easy. But it only happens when you sitting there do your part. You're not better than us. You can't prom queen your way through this. These are your loans, and this is your problem. And that's the most important, truest thing I will say tonight. So have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you on Sunday. Good luck. Godspeed. And God bless everyone.